Hello everyone, this will be a simple guide going over when, where, and how to use Kaleva and Luigi swaps in the current patch of Cuphead. From what I know, Kaleva swaps work differently on the older, more popular speedrun patches of the game, and it's essentially been dumbed down on the current patch, so they're actually much simpler to explain and utilize than in older patches, but you won't get as much value generally than you would have on older patches. I'm also using the Cuphead debug mod to help make this video. So how an EX usually works is it makes you stop shooting, then the EX comes out, and after the recovery you can shoot again. And like you just saw, an EX has three parts of its animation. The beginning part before the EX comes out, then when the EX actually comes out is the second part, and the recovery part where you recoil back and ready yourself to shoot again is the third and final part of the animation. How a Kaleva swap works is it essentially tricks the game into letting you shoot earlier than you're supposed to. To perform this, you need to use an EX, then before the EX comes out, you press the weapon swap button 2 times. It can be hard to tell sometimes, but you can tell you did this right in 3 main ways. First, you'll be able to see your shot come out before or as the EX is coming out. You'll also be able to hear yourself continue shooting during the EX animation, which is distinctly different than EXing normally. And lastly, you'll sometimes see your other equipped weapon's shot come out very briefly before seeing your main weapon again. This is generally fine, although performing it optimally you wouldn't see it, but it doesn't really make any difference, so who cares? I'll just do a few Kaleva swaps so you can see clearly and understand what's going on. So like I said, you just press the EX button, and then press the weapon swap button twice in a row before the EX comes out to perform a Kaleva swap. Now, why exactly would you want to perform a Kaleva swap? Well, once you nail it down, it is literally free extra damage. Sometimes it's nothing too crazy, but in other cases it lets you drastically cut down the time it takes to beat phases by up to half. So when and where should you use Kaleva swaps? The best case scenario to use Kaleva swaps on are during background phases of boss fights. A background phase is when the boss itself is a part of the background and thus doesn't have a hitbox and doesn't directly deal damage to you, but you're able to deal damage to it while it's in the background while you're inside its hurtbox. All this means is that we can EX and shoot in the same area the boss takes damage from. So Kaleva swaps let you deal your maximum EX damage for some weapons inside the boss while also shooting the boss at the same time. I shouldn't need to tell you that means a lot more damage than you would usually do. There really isn't any reason you wouldn't want to do this when you can, other than making you play a little bit riskier than before. You can see some of the examples and how much more damage you can deal if you Kaleva swap during these parts. But again, you don't have to only use Kaleva swaps like this. They literally just let you deal more damage while EXing. So whenever you feel you can safely and reasonably use an EX attack and continue shooting the boss for maximum effect, that's when you would want to go for a Kaleva swap. Here are more examples of Kaleva swap effective phases. That's pretty much all there is for Kaleva swaps, but what about Luigi swaps? It's pretty similar to Kaleva swaps, but for plane levels. A Luigi swap is literally shooting while EXing, sounds familiar, right? But how you do this is different from a Kaleva swap. Just to reiterate, even on plane levels you cannot shoot while EXing, which really lowers your DPS for these levels since these bosses pretty much always have more health than normal bosses, which is also why the plane P shooter deals much more damage per second than the normal P shooter. So being able to shoot while using the plane P shooter's frankly busted EX is crazy to begin with. It's simple, but I've heard this is harder on controller than keyboard, so your success may vary. To perform a Luigi swap, you need to be shooting with the opposite weapon you want to EX and shoot with at the same time, which usually means you will be shooting bombs. Then while shooting, you have to EX and swap weapons on the exact same frame. This lets you switch weapons, EX with that switched weapon, and start shooting that weapon all at the same time. And the amount of extra damage you could deal by performing this trick is like life-changing. You'll want to perform this trick every time you reasonably can because the plain weapons are so good, and then you can add 2 times, 3 times damage to that? Say goodbye to some of those pesky phases. Well, that's all I have to go over for this video. Possibly next time I'll be going over more niche tricks or other situations you can use Kaleva swaps in. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.